Guys, as Bitcoin has dropped down 4,500 USD in the last day towards that 41K region, the big question on everyone's mind is what will happen next? I'm answering that video directly by the end of today's video, and I'm also diving into the first ever weekly chart golden cross, right, in history ever, which is huge, huge news. Guys, we'll look into those two things today. Without further ado, let's get into it. Guys, I know we've seen a 4,500 USD correction, down 10% from a top at 44.7K. We will get into that in a second, but I want to start by looking into this golden cross here, because this is something that's never happened before on Bitcoin. We've never seen a weekly chart golden cross before. It's never occurred. Now, as you can probably infer by the actual title, golden cross, okay, the opposite being a death cross, it's generally speaking a pretty good thing. In fact, if we look at the 3-day chart, and this is where we'll get our data from golden crosses and death crosses. By the way, a golden cross is when the 200-day the 200 SMA in general crosses below the 50 SMA, and depending on time frame, you can say it's a 3-day chart golden cross, a weekly chart golden cross, daily chart golden cross. And the opposite is a death cross, where the 50 SMA crosses below the 200. An example of a death cross is over here, the red line being the 50 and the green line being the 200. So the red line crosses below the 200 SMA. When that cross occurs, it leads to a correction, or at least exemplifies the velocity of correction that's already occurring. Golden cross here leads to an upwards trend. Okay, death cross here leads to a very sharp sell-off on Bitcoin. Golden cross leads to an upwards trend. It was ruined by COVID. With that said, it was kind of a false flag. Death cross over here led to the bear market. Golden cross led to the move upwards here. So, look, there are false flags. There are times when it doesn't work. There are times when you have to remember it's just a moving average. Realistically, a moving average is just a reflection of the price action that's occurring, not necessarily predictive indicators for the price action that will occur. So there are going to be false flags. Even this occurrence here of a golden cross, we went downwards before we went upwards. So look, there are going to be false flags. It's not going to be 100% accurate, but generally speaking, on a generalized scale, golden crosses and death crosses are quite useful in determining where Bitcoin will go next. Now, we saw a death cross on Bitcoin, okay, on the weekly chart. We've only ever seen one death cross on the weekly chart. We've never seen a golden cross before. So this is all new, right? This is all 2023. This is all new stuff. We've never actually seen a death cross until 2023. We've never seen a golden cross ever. The death cross occurred right here, as you can see. Upon that death cross occurring, we saw a correction downwards from 25K all the way to 19K. So it might not look like much, okay, when that death cross occurred, because we only went down for a couple of weeks. But realistically, that death cross led to a correction of 22%, which, you know, it's significant enough for it to be valid. Okay, so that death cross worked. It worked. And now we're coming in for a golden cross. The golden cross will be occurring probably in 1 to 2 weeks. Okay, it's hard to say exactly when, probably in 1 to 2 weeks, depending on how this candle closes. And if we get that golden cross, right, the chances are Bitcoin will be going upwards to some extent, all right? But it's not guaranteed. We've never seen a golden cross before. It's historically new. And we do know that we have seen false flags in the past. False flags do occur, okay? So we saw a false flag over here, for example, even though it ended up occurring to the upside, we saw, 10, 15% correction before that happened. So we could very well see a correction before we go upwards, even if we see a weekly chart golden cross. And we've seen a false flag very prominently back here in 2019, a clear false flag where nothing actually occurred at all. So although we've got this weekly chart golden cross, we've never seen it before. It's the first time in Bitcoin's entire price history, and it could very well be quite big for Bitcoin. It could very well be massive for Bitcoin. We have to ground ourselves in reality as well and realize that this is not a flawless indicator. In fact, this has never happened before, not even once in the weekly chart. So we have no historical point of reference for how accurate it is in the weekly chart. We do know that from time frame to time frame, the accuracy of golden crosses and death crosses do differ. We know that for a fact, because we look at the daily chart, for example, we bring up golden crosses and death crosses on the daily chart. They're actually not very accurate at all. Yes, this golden cross we most recently saw worked out well, but this one over here, this death cross, didn't work out at all. We just went upwards. If we're going back in time, golden cross, okay, it worked out fine. But if we look at, again, we can just go back further and further and further. We can see death cross worked out fine. The golden cross here did not work out at all. We went downwards because of that. Death cross worked out fine. We can just go test the validity of a lot of these things here. Golden cross, I guess it worked out fine, but realistically we just went sideways, so it was a non-event. Golden cross here didn't work out at all. We went downwards for COVID. When the death cross came in after COVID, we actually went upwards. So you can see the accuracy for golden crosses and death crosses differs from time frame to time frame. And even though generally speaking, generally speaking, just in the same way an ascending triangle is generally bullish. Generally speaking, they are bullish. For example, golden crosses. We have to understand they're not perfect, and we have to understand we've never seen it on this time frame before. And knowing that their accuracy differs from time frame to time frame, it's very hard to sit here and say that this will be a groundbreakingly bullish thing, especially after an 80% move to the upside with no significant correction until yesterday. So I want to, address this by saying, yeah, look, it's the first time in Bitcoin's price history. It's definitely not bearish, but it's definitely not confirmed to be bullish either. And so with that said, we can almost just disregard it to a certain extent and focus on more supported TA. Now, what do I mean by supported TA? Well, I'm going to look into short term in a second. Again, I do have a conclusion to come to in the short term. But we want to look at things like the Ichimoku Cloud baseline, okay? Because this is more supported. This is something that has an established kind of trend around it that kind of lines up with the 4-year cycle theory, lines up with the cyclical theory, the cyclical trends. Whenever we're below this line, we're in a bear market. Whenever we're above it, we're in a bull market. That's without fail. It's happened every single time. We're currently, technically speaking, according to the baseline of the Ichimoku Cloud, in a bear market. It's semantics. It doesn't matter what you mean by bear market or not. Look, I say a bull market only occurs after the halving. That doesn't mean I didn't buy at 17 or 18K. All right, so it's semantics. It doesn't actually matter. But what I will say is this. If we're looking cyclically, what has Bitcoin done cyclically? Well, at the same part of the cycle we were in 2019, we're in the same part of the cycle right now as we were in 2019. It's a better way of saying it. And given that, if we're looking at where we were in 2019, at this same part of the cycle, just before the halving, we were right here at this baseline of the Ichimoku Cloud. We actually wicked above it and rejected from it and saw a correction. Now, we do know that Bitcoin is in need of a correction. We know this. Okay, we saw a 70% move to the upside, 80% nearly, without any correction whatsoever. We've got this chart on the screen here that compares this cycle to the last couple of cycles, showing that we're actually deviating higher than where we were meant to be at the moment, and we need to come back down to the baseline, either through correction or consolidation. So there's no doubt in my mind that Bitcoin could use a correction. It would be healthy for Bitcoin to see a correction. And given the fact that we're at the same part of a cycle we were in 2019, and given the fact that in 2019 we wicked above this line, ultimately closed below it and saw a correction from there, it does stand to reason that there is a significant possibility that Bitcoin could be closing its monthly candle just below 42K and seeing a correction from this region for the next few months, and then going upwards again around or at the halving. That's something that's completely logical. It would make perfect sense if that occurred. That's not necessarily a prediction, it's more of an observation of reality. There's no denying that would make sense. If you believe in the 4-year cycle, you believe in the cyclical theory, which is not actually a theory anymore, it's a trend. So if you more realistically, if you observe reality, you can observe that this is a very reasonable conclusion to come to, that there is a considerably likely chance, a considerable chance that Bitcoin would close below this line at 42K, reject downwards for a while, and go upwards after the halving. That's just an observation of reality, right? If you ignore that, you're simply very, very clearly biased. I mean, that's the reality of the situation, right? You're biased, right? So we know that if we're looking at something like this, we can see that, okay, well, how likely is Bitcoin to close above 42K at the end of December? Technically speaking, based on this chart alone, it's not particularly likely. All right, that's what this chart suggests. What about short term? What does short term say? Short term says that we should be going down for a retest of something like 38.5 to 39. And I'll explain how I came to that conclusion now. All right, we're still in an upwards trend technically. All right, well, yeah, I guess to some extent we lost the upwards trend because we had, if you're looking where I'm circling here, we had this higher low here. We did lose that higher low of the current one we're forming. So technically, to an extent, we lost the upwards trend. But if you're zooming out and you're looking at a longer term, more medium term scale, since September 11th, we're technically speaking in an upwards trend. Okay, it depends how you define an upwards trend, I suppose, but we do have upward support lines such as this support line here, stepping back from 25th of October, going through to these 2 wicks, which is very clearly an ascending support line that we have not lost yet. For intensive purposes, you could say we're in an upwards trend. Again, it's a semantic argument. We have also seen a double top form, which is when you see 2 consecutive peaks reaching the same price point and a drop led, but caused by that. We predicted, as I said yesterday, at around 43.6K, which is right here where I've just marked out that we would be going downwards to the 40K region. We did that within minutes of the prediction. As I said, we had a live prediction with it yesterday, and it played out quite well. Literally live as we were filming, so you can go watch yesterday for that evidence. But now the new question is, well, we've reached 40K, we've reached the target that I suggested we go to. Do we go lower than this now? That's the question now. So I would say that we have a preliminary support line here from the 28th of October upwards. That is a support line we're testing right now. Yeah, we wicked below it, but we've realistically still holding that for support. So long as we're above that line, Bitcoin will be bound to retest this 44.6k zone. I personally think it would be a stretch if we made it that high. I personally think this line will break downwards, and I personally think that we will come down so let's just delete that line for now. With that said, I personally think we will come down and we will test this yellow line again. Because if you're looking at this from a logical perspective, forget all traditional means of TA, forget RSI, forget volume, forget all those things, right? If you're looking at it from a logical perspective, Bitcoin had a baseline trend, like a magnet that it was drawn to. Every time it went up, it bounced on that magnet. It came back to that magnet for support. It sprung up from that magnet. It reached a peak. It reached a brick wall. We rejected from it on 2 separate occasions, saw a very strong correction following that. And now, where are we going? We should realistically be trending back towards this magnet. And if we go down below that, I'm using the term magnet here, this support line, if we go back to that support line, which we should be doing, we should be seeing a minimum retest of 38.5k-ish, or wherever that magnet is at the time. So it could be 39, it could be 38.5, wherever it is at the time. That's what we should be testing. That is what the logic on the charts suggests. Now, I'm also aware that seeing a 4,000 USD drop in a 10-minute period is not necessarily a logical, completely normal thing that occurs, right? That's manipulation. That's very clearly manipulation. So if there was manipulation down, sometimes there's going to be manipulation up. You have to accept the reality that that's a possibility. Unless there is dramatic manipulation, it seems very likely to me that Bitcoin will be going downwards to test the support line and hence going downwards to test something like 38.5 or 39. That will be the next step for Bitcoin, in my opinion. Now, as for predictions further than that, do I think it will go below that level, for example? I think that's something we'll have to analyze over time. It's very difficult to come to a conclusion on that topic currently. But ultimately, I am still accepting that as long as we're above 38.5k, the next major macro resistance is 48k. So I'm still accepting that as long as we're above this level, this green box, 48k is very much on the table. Now, the question is, do we test 48k before the monthly closes and then come back and close below the baseline of the Ichimoku cloud? Do we just reject from it now, or do we close above the Ichimoku baseline? It's very difficult to come to a conclusion about answer, especially when you consider the ETF events that are coming up very, very shortly, in just under a month of ETF news. But all I can say with a degree of accuracy here, based on TA, rather than just blindly speculating about the questions I just asked, is that the next step for Bitcoin on the chart should realistically be a drop down this yellow line and testing that 38 to 39k reach, 38.5 to 39k reach. That should be the next step if we're following TA. If manipulation comes in, there's not much we can do past that. And obviously, if we break above our high at 44.6k, this entire prediction becomes invalid and our target becomes 48k, right? So there's a couple of scenarios. There is a more likely scenario, but there's still a couple of scenarios on the table. And I think I'll end the video there. I think I've said everything I need to say now. So correction downwards, not very good. Double top formation should go down further. If we break the high, that becomes invalid. Monthly chart is still the cause of concern on Bitcoin. Depending on what we do in relation to a close above this baseline or close below the baseline will determine what we do until the halving, essentially. And the weekly chart is coming in for its first ever golden cross, which is actually pretty big news. It's a pretty big thing. It is technically bullish, but there's not really that much evidence to suggest that it would be bullish. So, as I've said, it's very hit or miss. It's very gray area. So it's not actually something we can put every bloody penny in the bank as a bet on, right? It's not something we can bet on so heavily. But we will certainly be monitoring that situation. If we're also looking at, and this is one more thing I want to bring up before we end the video, we're also looking at the ascending channel formation we had on Bitcoin that we broke to the upside. The top line of that ascending channel formation is still a support line that we realistically could be retesting. For example, when you break a line, you usually come back and retest for support. That is sitting around 39k as well. And so that would line up with a retest of the level we're looking to retest in the short term, adding validity to that claim. But I will say that if we drop below that line, right, if we drop below back into the channel, that could be really, really bad news for Bitcoin. There could be a very, very serious bearish threat developing if we do that, because that could label this entire move as a fake out and could bring us all the way back to the bottom of the channel down to 30k. So there are actually pretty significant threats developing on Bitcoin that we need to discuss. We'll discuss those in future videos. But as of right now, I don't want to put too much attention to it because it's not confirmed yet. But thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed. I'll catch you in the next video. Before we end this one, let's check out a few things. First and foremost, Bingx and Bitget exchange. Bingx is global, non-KYC. There are a few restricted countries, but you can get around it with a VPN and you'll never be asked to verify your identity. Very low trading fees, never been hacked. They have a protection fund. And then Bitget is more or less the same, except it is KYC, not non-KYC. So there are a few countries that you strictly cannot access regardless of VPN usage or not. Again, both very low in trading fees. Both have never been hacked. Both have protection funds. Both have my referral links down below for 15% trading fee discounts for life. We then have right here on Telegram, our Telegram VIP group. You can join this group here, which is kind of like what you join before you join the group. It has the information for the group. It has the results for the group. It has the payment information, the contact details. Everything you need to join the group is here, including, as I said, the results, right? With all our historical wins and losses, we've got a 80.58% win rate for our altcoin trades. If you want to make money on altcoins trading with entries, with stop losses, with targets given to you directly, this is the place for you. Check it out. And then finally, become a trader 10-unit course in the Crypto Academy. This course is developed by myself and Mega Crypto. We teach people how to trade for a university format course with PowerPoints, worksheets, videos, trading diaries, everything you really need for every type of learner, whether you be a visual, whether you be a verbal learner, whether you be a practical learner, it's all there. And the email address is on the website. You can contact us for more details on the email address. Guys, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll catch you tomorrow. Cheers.